So many people I've met in this industry that are just fantastic. You see what they do and how much energy and passion they put into what they do is quite infectious. And I think that's what really resonated with me, just that passion side of things. And marketing is just about understanding people and helping people understand you. That's what it comes down to. So it's how can we make that as enjoyable for them as possible and remind them it's about fun and it's about the more time they spend on their boat. And that's why we're in the industry.
You're listening to the Rising Tidecast, the podcast for sharing the stories, the lessons, and all the good stuff from legends in the marine industry. Welcome to the Rising Tidecast for another episode. I'm Steve from Rising Tide Film, and today's podcast, you're in for another treat, a great episode. We've got some tactical marketing tips from the expert herself, Nona Pedersen of Yessss Marketing, based up on the Gold Coast. Nona helps marine businesses thrive through fast and effective growth. She's a growth-obsessed strategist who gets a thrill from building meaningful connections, crafting win-win solutions, whether it's accelerating brands, fostering personal development, or nurturing a cactus. Nona's passion lies in helping things flourish. She's been in the industry for 10 years and climbed through the ranks and knows a thing or two about growing marine businesses and brands. So welcome, Nona.
It is great to be here. Thank you for having me, Steve, on the podcast. Very excited to kind of talk to a fellow marketer, storyteller, and, kind of just go through things that might help some people in the industry.
I think the first thing that I need help with understanding, I could barely get through your intro, is cactus nurturing. How hard is it to nurture a cactus? There must be something hidden here, because from the outside perspective, it's a plant that grows in the desert. I don't have a huge green thumb, but I've definitely kept a few plants alive, but I didn't think cactuses were that hard. But apparently it's not so straightforward. Is that right?
It can be. So I'm not very good at keeping plants alive. So I thought, what is something that I will be able to not kill, basically? And so I thought like cactus, succulents, something like that. I feel like they're very good. They're used to really tough conditions, used to like neglect. And so I decided I'll try grow those and did similar to what you did, Steve, of going, how hard could it be? Well, it turns out that they are very temperamental. You have to have the right type of soil with the right type of drainage. You have to understand the amount of sunlight that they like. But to me, I think they're so much more satisfying because once you do get them growing, they actually grow very fast, which is quite cool. So the more like love and work you put in, you see the results a lot quicker and faster. So definitely the trick is understanding, like getting to know, what will make this thing do what it's supposed to do. And you could probably take that into what we do in business. You and I both provide a service. We work with clients. It's one thing to say you could be this, you could be this big, beautiful cactus with all these arms and flowering. But unless you understand the right formula, what you need to do to nourish and, foster that growth, you're not really going to get anywhere very fast. And so I've adopted that kind of approach to business as well, is making sure that we understand what we're doing, we understand the needs, like what needs to happen, what are the goals, and then kind of form that bigger picture and then work backwards and go, okay, now how do we get there? And, what are the steps that we can take that we know will work or will most likely deliver results? We can't promise, success on every little thing, but if you can be as targeted and as focused and also monitoring it as you go, that's what works and that's what gets results.
Giving it a lot of love, just like clients and cactuses.
A lot of love.
What's the story behind Yessss and the S's in Yessss Marketing?
I mean, again, we do marketing, so it's a lot about, the fluffy, good feeling stuff. That's what we want to get into. And that's hopefully what we provide our clients is the warm, fuzzy feeling of success, achieving your goals and doing better and just instilling that sense of pride. And we live for those, what we call those yes moments. Like, when something great happens, you're like, yes, the All Blacks won. Yes. So that's kind of our approach to how we work with our clients and how we do business. And the services that we provide are all to work towards those yes moments. And so essentially the way it is we effectively become your marketing team. We work with existing marketing teams or non-existent marketing teams, which, happens where you've got someone who's just wearing the marketing hat because no one else is there to do it. So we're very flexible with the way we work. But We have like graphic design, we've got digital marketing, we've got social media, we've got just general marketing admin assistants, just the little marketing tasks that, they just take up time, but they're really important to do. And then also marketing management and marketing directorship. So we can help with strategy, with planning, with running your communications, like all that sort of stuff. Where we draw the line is where it gets really technical or specialist. So as an example, we don't do website development. Like that is
right. The whole thing.
A whole other thing. Same with proper video shoots. Like we can help with directing video stuff, but if it's like a proper video or content that needs to be done professionally, that's where we're working with people like you as an example to help. Because, we can do so much and we can do it, in a cost-effective way. But we always tell our clients, listen, if you've got a big project or we know that this is going to work better, that's when we're going to get someone in. We'll work with them and we'll help make sure that they've got everything that they need. So we kind of make it as easy as possible. And then afterwards, we look at how we can maximize the value out of it. So, okay, cool. We've got this fantastic marketing asset. What more can we do to get it out there and, get as much exposure as possible? So that's the way we kind of work. We're not going to do something just to tick a box. It has to have purpose. And there has to be like reasoning behind it. And if someone believes that this is the right thing to do, we'll give it a go and we'll see if it's working and if it's getting results. And if it is, we'll go, yeah, let's lean more into this. Or we might pivot and find actually we're better off investing our time, resources, money into something else that would get better results. So we very much like to understand our clients and we become this growth partner. That's my side of the business, at least marketing. We do business development, so we help companies enter new markets. And then we also do have companies that we're working with that we lead up to an exit event or a liquidity event. We will work with them to get their company transaction ready. And we can even help find a potential buyer for that business. And when we've got clients on that pathway, that's when the marketing shifts from being about marketing a product or marketing a service. It's actually marketing the business. And what you're doing there is making the business attractive to someone to want to buy it as well.
I think what you do really well, it sounds like, is you tick all the boxes for looking after the businesses that you do, and you're someone that's in their corner, a trusted advisor at the things that you know that you're great at and can help them with. And you also have the network then to reach out to the experts when you need to. And who wouldn't want that in their business, honestly? So I think it's a great thing. And I know you helped some great people in the industry too. How did you get your start in the industry? Like, take us back to when this all started for you.
So my background growing up, I'm a country girl. So I grew up more on a...
Not on the water.
Not on the water. And so I'm originally from New Zealand, living in Auckland. So the water is never far from you when you live there. I think it's one of those places where you can go snowboarding in one day and the same day go surfing. Like, there's always coastline not far away. But yeah, I was a classic horse girl. One of those types. My dad, he had a little tinny that he used to go and he used to do duck shooting, and which wasn't actually killing many ducks. It was more just, I think, an excuse to go get drunk with his mates. But
have some time to himself and with some friends.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't really know anything about boats, and like a little bit, I loved fishing and doing all that sort of stuff. But again, it wasn't a massive part of my life. I actually originally wanted to be a civil engineer. I really love design, structural design and things like that. So from a young age, I was going to be that. And then I finished school and I was about to go into university, and I realized that if you want to be a civil engineer, you kind of end up being a lollipop man for the first few years of that. And it's not as glamorous as I had pictured in my head. So I still went to university and I did a Bachelor of Business. And I just fell in love with it. People are like, oh, marketing, and they get so, complicated about it. But ultimately, marketing is just about understanding people and helping people understand you. That's what it comes down to. And that's what I was really interested in. And I found it quite fascinating. So I decided to major in marketing and management. Thought that'd be really good, a good degree to have, keep my options wide open. And as I was finishing my degree, I had to do an internship in order to graduate. And so I started my internship at the group who owns PropSpeed. And PropSpeed's a marine coating that goes on the propellers and underwater metal parts of a boat. Again, knew nothing about boating, but I was tasked with doing some, market research and doing some marketing reports and like data analysis, that sort of stuff. And it took me a while to get my head around it. I originally thought anti-foul was something that prevented chickens or birds from like just no understanding of, the
I love that.
jargon. I learned a lot. There was a lot of learnings and a lot of lessons. And to be fair, I finished that up and they said, hey, do you still want a job? We've got a junior marketing role coming up with Prop Speed if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, like, let's do it. Let's give it a go. It took me I'd say, like, being honest, it was 2 years. It took me 2 years to really understand the industry. It was more like a year to understand the products and the customers and how they interact with it and, just dissecting all of that sort of stuff. And then the second year was more about the industry and learning how the industry works and learning other parts to the boat beyond coatings. And so, because for me, I was like, I need to be able to talk the talk. I need to be able to understand what role this plays. So I started with Prop Speed as like absolute junior. There were only 3 of us in the company, so we were tiny. And the world thought that the business was a whole lot bigger because the brand had grown through the product just being absolutely fantastic, which it is. So my job in terms of marketing it, I found that easy because the product is great. The product does what it says it's going to do. There are people out there that love it. And then as I started growing in my career, I got to travel. I got to attend a lot of the big events around the world. And that kind of resonated even more with me, meeting these different people and understanding how they use their boats and how, you have to understand terminology. In the US, they don't call anti-foul the word they use. They call it bottom paint. And so I was like to our sales team, guys, like, what? Didn't tell me that this is a
This
thing.
is important for marketing.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, we just thought it was a cute Kiwi thing. And so those were some of the things that I really did enjoy learning and understanding. And as the business grew, I got to grow. So I became marketing manager. And then I became general manager after that. And that was such a fantastic journey to be part of and to be able to grow with the business where you're like this tiny little team and you're kind of doing everything to now, you look at it and it's just something to be so immensely proud of, to see what it's grown into and to, keep championing now from the sidelines. But that was how I like really fell in love with it. And it was just, our Prop Speed customers, meeting them around the world and understanding the impact that just a propeller coating has on their business. You wouldn't think that it could be so significant, but it does. And it just gives me all the warm and fuzzies. And that's, and then building the brand and sharing those stories and helping other people who didn't quite understand it and get it, bringing them along for the ride. That was just fantastic. And and then I kind of got to the point where I'm like, well, what's next? And I'd always wanted to run my own business. And I knew that I had a unique skill set in the marine industry. And so I thought, well, what if I made a business that I wish we had when we were growing? And there are so, like, as on that growth trajectory, there were so many times where it would have been really handy to have a company that we could work with just to get us through. Because I look back at the amount of money we wasted on, and it was wasted. It wasn't, invested. Like, that was a waste, was on, agencies and different consultants. Some of them were fantastic. Those ones, like, got so much value out of that. But a lot of them, they just didn't get marine. They didn't get the industry. They didn't understand the way it works. They didn't understand, the terminology, all that sort of stuff. And so what we realized was I was giving them all this information. They were just regurgitating it straight back to me with no changes. We were spending money and I was spending even more time doing it. And so I was like, I just wish there was someone out here who got boating, like who understands it, who knows what to look for, how to get, the money shot. If you're taking photos or videos, you're like, don't look at this stuff, like this is what we're focusing on, and, all that sort of stuff. So that's where Yessss was born out of, was kind of like my frustration over the years of being like, there's got to be someone out there that can do it, and then leveraging my skill set, my team's skill set to be able to make this a thing. And it's been fantastic. And I get to work with some pretty cool products and companies now, which is quite nice and diverse. But unlike traditional agencies, I don't want to be a company that's like everything to everyone. I just want to have those core customers that genuinely want to grow. And that's the kind of the key thing, is if they're wanting to just kind of plateau and keep going, that's not really what we're about. That's not what gets us out of bed. It's like, okay, how can we transform it, take it to the next level, unlock potential and grow?
I love hearing that and your vision for why you started the business, and also the fact that you were able to get in a small business from the ground and see the impact that you can have on them through the marketing that you were doing and the research. And you got, I think, of a bit of a taste of many kind of different aspects of that business as they were growing. That's a very cool, very unique experience, I think, for someone in the industry that then can take that and apply it to your business that you're in now. Stuff that you can't learn getting a degree, for sure. That experience is fantastic. What was it besides, I guess, that satisfaction that you got from helping PropSpeed grow and seeing that? But why stick with the marine industry? Your knowledge, you said you enjoyed it, but you didn't grow up on the water. I love the anti-foul chicken comment. Fantastic as well. Why did you decide to stick with the marine industry? Is this something that you knew so well by that stage, or what else drew you to it?
Definitely the people in the industry. I'm a people person and I love, building those connections and those relationships. And so many people I've met in this industry that are just fantastic. They're great people. They're just fun in general, like just really good people in general. But then you see what they do and how much effort and energy and passion that they put into what they do is what really gets me. But it's quite infectious, right? When you see these people that they love it. And the thing I also love about the marine industry is it's built on passion. You've got commercial and government, but on the whole, if you look at the recreational side of things, people go boating because they love it. It's just, I love being out on the water. I love spending time on my boat. I love spending time with the people that I love on my boat. And I think that's what really resonated with me, was more just that passion side of things. And it's, it is a beautiful industry to work in. The boat shows are in beautiful locations around the world. And a lot of the times, the product, the end result is, it's just fantastic. And I think also knowing that every little product or service that is associated with that boat is respected, because it does make a difference. Like I say, something as simple as a propeller coating makes such a difference on people. And they just, you talk to them and their eyes light up and they love it. And when you talk to anyone about their boat, it's fantastic. The reality is when you're marketing or promoting a boat, you're competing for someone's time, their personal time where they're going to spend away. And for a lot of these people, they're very successful. They've worked really hard to get the boat. And so it's how can we make that as enjoyable for them as possible and remind them that it's fun. And that's what should come through in the marketing as well. And I think some people, they get a little bit too serious with marketing. And, I get it. In some cases, you have to be. But in the majority of things, especially if you're targeting, the leisure side of the market, it's about fun and it's about enjoyment and it's about reminding people that the more time they spend on their boat, the more they'll enjoy it too. And that's why we're in it, it's in the industry. And that's why I really wanted to kind of leverage all of the experience that I've built up over the years and keep, helping people. And again, there's so many great people in this company. And if I can help them, achieve what they need to do, it comes back. And that's what really resonates. And that's what makes us unique as well, is we're so into marine, all the different parts of it. And so just even understanding it and then the opportunity to learn more about it too is really exciting.
Your passion, taking it back to that part, is something that everyone is, at least the large majority of people in the industry share, is the passion for what you do and also the passion for being on the water. With the work that you do, how do you guys lean into that passion part of the businesses that you help?
Yeah, so because obviously every business is different. For us, it usually, when we meet clients, especially at the start, it's kind of like dating. And so you're kind of figuring each other out. You're trying to see what makes each other tick and if we're going to be a good fit going forward, which is really important as well. And if we don't believe we can add value or can't help, we're very open and honest. And we're like, what you guys need is someone who's more like this. Like, they're going to get you what that wants. Like, we can't do that, but we can, help point you in the right direction. But it definitely comes down to just one, getting a really good understanding of their business really quick, and also who they are as well, especially if they're the owner operator, is just like understanding ultimately what is the big picture here? What does success look like for you? And that's the classic, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But I kind of ask that more on a personal level especially if it is an owner operator or someone, in the business, because that to me really helps you go, okay, cool. They're wanting to actually, maybe untangle themselves from the business and be a little bit more work on the business rather than in it, versus you've got other guys, they're like, no, I want to slave away at it. And you're like, fantastic. Like, I can work with either, but I just need to understand what it is that you want out of it. And that's kind of where we start. And to be honest, on that journey, that's where we pick up if they're passionate about their business, if they do love it. And a lot of the time, some of them, they're just so stressed out and they're like, I'm done. I want this thing gone, like get it away from me. And even just that initial work that we do around strategy, big picture thinking, getting up in the helicopter, you see them start to fall in love with the business again. And it's so lovely to be part of that. And, and then you're a couple of months in and they go, oh my gosh, like I love my business again. I love what I'm doing. And it's because you've taken them out of the weeds and, you can't see beyond what's in front of you. And so that's what we help them do. And then it also helps trigger even more growth. They're like, let's see what else we could do. And they start working in their happy place again, which is really important. And we do remind them, we're like, why are you wasting your time on ordering uniforms or doing this? Or, that is not where you add value to your business. And I get it. A lot of people run their businesses very lean. But we're like, listen, like the more value, like if you focus on the areas that only you can do that work or where you add the most value, then the whole business will come along for the ride and we'll be there to help make sure that everything's caught. So yeah, go back to that dating of we just kind of feel each other out. And if we see that we can actually help, then usually that passion comes in. But the first thing we do before we potentially talk to anyone is we will do our an online research and make sure that it's a good product or a good service, because one of the big things is we need to be able to believe in that too. So if we go, okay, cool, like this is absolutely, what they're saying matches up what everyone else is saying, then there's something here. You kind of get there's like a smell to it and you're like, there's something here in this business that's really interesting. Like we could do some really cool things.
Yeah, the basis for every great business, like you can only do so much marketing to sell a crap product, right? And then it's going to be painful and it's going to continue on forever if you don't improve that and you don't have something special that works that people want. Also, helping owners refine the passion for their business, super gratifying. I say that because I do experience that occasionally as well, like in the pre-production process when we're going through and having that discovery call, especially in a brand film, which is all about like this, why you started the business, the founder's story, everything. Sometimes it just takes a reminder to help them see what it is that they love about the business and also the value that they bring and where that sits in their daily tasks and routines and stuff like that. But I think that's something that is a byproduct probably of what you do, but can be one of the more valuable things that you give to somebody. I think it's also a great way to connect people to the business and the people that work for them as well, because then they get to be a different person for that business with a reignited passion for it.
Absolutely. I think on that point, and it's because you'll see this too, absolutely, is marketing. So many people see it as like it's just a division of the business. And what they don't realize is marketing should be, like great businesses especially, it should be entwined everywhere. Like operationally, in terms of your team and your company culture, you want people to work for you because they're proud to be part of the journey, right? Like that's ultimately what it's become. And in this day and age as well, people are so selective of the companies that they want to work with. They look for value matches, it's more than just I'm like clocking in, getting my money, clocking out type thing. And you look at all the great businesses that do wonderful things, their team are so on board and that, they feed off it and it's fantastic. And just taking that time to bring your team along for the ride, to share, that marketing activities that you're doing. And you would see that especially when you're doing your brand videos, is it should give you the warm and fuzzies. And the more you can have your team part of it to even see it and be involved, you've got their buy-in too. And it makes everything so much easier if everyone's kind of fizzing and resonating, on that same wavelength. It becomes infectious. And so, no matter what touch point someone has with your business, whether it's someone in operations or sales or, just finance side of things, having those positive interactions all builds towards your total brand story. And it just, it feels better as well. Ultimately, you spend a lot of time at work and you're always performing better if you're happier and you're excited. And that's the thing that for me, like, when you meet those clients that you're like, this is so cool, and they're just good humans, and you really want to help them. And we always go above and beyond and get in trouble with our CFO going, you guys spent way too much time on that. I'm like, yeah, but like it was so good and it was fun and it all worked out. And he's like, okay, but maybe you're a service provider now.
Yep. Billable hours went out the window. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just being a good person is a great way to discover what it is that's special about your business. It doesn't have to be some epic founder story and this wild struggle you went through and, the kind of whole hero's journey. I think that it's really special to find people that are just passionate about what they do and wanted to start something just because they loved it and they loved the people that they served. And that's something that a lot of people that work with businesses like that want to get behind. And so it is marketing not only the why behind that part of the business to the outside, to the clients, but also marketing it to your internal staff or your future staff. And I think harnessing that is one of the best recruitment tools out there to find more great people, like the people that are already in the business or the people that started it.
Absolutely. And I feel like so many people get too caught up on they have to have this epic story. And we get it, like, in the industry, there are products that are just not sexy and they're never going to be sexy, but they are critical in the terms of, the boat building, business and that sort of stuff. And it's also just being like, that's okay. Like, just because this product can't be embellished in that sense, you can take a different approach. And again, if you, like you say, Steve, you focus on why. And you go, well, why does this product exist? Well, it does this because of that. Like, this is ultimately what you get. And then this works and then that works. And it's just like, if you go back to that basic of the storytelling and not just being like, oh, these are the key features, like, I'll tick this. Yep, it does that. Like, that's absolutely fine. It's good to have the, the technical specifications. And I feel like there's been this shift of people have become really lazy with the way that they market products and sell them and describe them, of just going like, well, this is the product, but it's black, it does this and that. It's like, well, why does it even exist? Because let's just look at that and go, why does this exist? It exists to do this. And most of the times it exists because it fills a pain point, that's needs and wants and that sort of thing. And so if you even just look at it holistically in that approach, you can really you can start doing a good storytelling. You can tell a good story and it doesn't have to be this crazy, like, oh, there were dragons and everything was going on. No, it can be really simple. But I think it is important for people to understand and have that kind of center of like the sense of purpose, like what's the point in all of this? And, sometimes just framing yourself in that sense. And I say that to a lot of my clients where they'll send me something and we're like, we need to do something about this. And I'm like, okay, but what will this achieve? What's the purpose of it? And it's like, oh, I just really liked it. I'm like, okay. All right, well, we'll find a purpose for it if it fits. And if you can't find a purpose, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? Or,
Right.
It's clearly not that important.
Oh, starting with the end in mind is the first thing that we always do. It's great to be in an industry, I think, too, where there's so much fantastic content out there and ideas and things that you see that you want to do. But knowing your story, knowing what's going to work within your goals and what you want to achieve and how it fits within your product and how you can tell that in a way that makes people connect with it, but also provides value to people, like not listening the features, but actually telling them how they're going to benefit from this and how it's going to make the days on the water better or whatever it is that you're selling. I think that's super important. And it's a common misconception that because they see someone else doing it in a similar business, that is going to work for theirs, right? And just like you're saying, it doesn't start there. Like you have to start with what's the problem that you want to solve.
Or whose problem are you solving? I think that's the other big one is, and again in this industry, is actually understanding who that target audience truly is. And a lot of the times you might think it's this group over here, but reality, it's all these people here. And it's just taking that time to look at it and go, who And maybe those people aren't even aware that you exist and you've been marketing to the completely wrong people. And you're like, this has got to be easy. Like, it's got to be easier. And it's sometimes you have to look at it and go, well, maybe I'm just talking to the wrong people, and going like, who actually is the person that's going to buy this? Who's the purchase decision maker in this process? And we know in this industry, it varies depending on the vessel type, the vessel size. As you're getting to bigger vessels, it's not the owner. The owner could not care less. It's the captain or it's the head engineer. And it's like understanding who it is that you need to convince. You have the peripheral stuff that, the owner might go, yeah, that's fantastic. But like ultimately, if the captain doesn't approve, it's not going to go on the boat, And so it's just understanding who is it. And one of the things I've found throughout my career was a lot of people, you talk to them and you say, so who's, like, just curiosity, who are your target audience? And they describe this target audience and you realize they've actually just described a unicorn, and it's who they would love to sell to. They've described their perfect customer. And I'm like, there's probably like 5 of them out there. Maybe if you're really lucky. And it's like, it's really nice to have your ideal customer, but the reality is you have to find the people that are willing to want to buy it, to spend that money, and targeting them and giving them what they need to make the decision easy as possible.
It's a great way to think about it, because I think a lot of people get into business like you just want to do business with people like you that you can connect with, but you're certainly going to be limited in who you can do business with. What's a big misconception that people have about what you do or marketing in the marine industry?
The classic, oh, marketing's black magic. And you guys just do all this stuff and hope that one of those things works. And to be fair, it's not like a full misconception. And to be fair, there are probably people out there that do that. They just like, we'll just see something will stick and hopefully something will work. But it's definitely so much more than just, like we're doing this and we're doing that. So that's like, and good marketing is being really targeted and really focused, and that you don't have to be here, and here. It's just, if you pick a couple of things and you do them really well and you own it, that's how you grow a brand. So that's definitely one of the, and I think it's just they don't understand marketing as a whole. There's so many avenues and things like that. And then the second one that I get is, how hard can it be?
Until you do it, until you have your own cactus, you'll understand. Yeah. And I think, once people do experience that or try it on their own, right, and then look for someone, the marine industry, marketing wise, being a little bit behind in future planning for a lot of campaigns, definitely on like how much effort and money and budget people are putting towards their marketing, to see that. And I think that's largely probably due to people not experiencing what a really well thought out, well planned strategy looks like for a campaign, for a product launch or a boat show or whatever it is, and in enough time in advance that it's actually moving the needle for them.
So much in this industry is reactive. You talk to someone who's doing like the boat show management and like doing all that sort of stuff. They're like, we are starting on this a year out, like 12 months. And basically we don't get anything from people right until like the last 4 weeks in the lead up to it. Be like, oh no, I need this and I need that. A lot of people don't understand the amount of work that goes into shifting yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. There's so many things that you have to get in place so that you can get into the space of being more proactive and going, okay, cool, this is what the next 12 months look like, and we have a rolling 3 months after that. So we're always looking ahead, and we're looking to see how we can capitalize and maximize value out of these marketing things that we're doing. And the other thing I find is just kind of going back to what you're saying is, I think there's this expectation, especially in the industry, that marketing is free, or it's, and they see brands and they're like, well, I can do what they're doing and I can do that. So make me like them. And I'm like, what you guys don't understand is they've got, $1 million marketing budget. There's a lot of money to do that sort of stuff. And, you can get some things free and you can pull some strings and you can focus on those sorts of things. But the reality is if you want to be one of those brands, you have to invest in marketing. And a lot of those companies, if you look at it, they are definitely more marketing led than sales led. Their whole priority is looking to how do we maximize the total value of the business. And if we do this, yeah, we'll get sales, but also this means that we'll also do this and we'll get access to that, and, thinking bigger picture. And that's definitely something I notice, especially in our industry, is there's just, it's very ad hoc, it's very reactive, which, that does have some value. Like, you don't want to be too rigid in case you miss an opportunity, but just, we all know when the boat shows are coming on. They're the same time every year, and yet always in the lead up to it, it is chaos.
I think I've got 3 phone calls this week that say, Steve, what's your availability like next week?
Yeah.
Well, not available.
Not much.
Sorry, I wish I could help you. I think to that point, like, it does pay to be organized and have that, but they don't always have the capacity to do it. So when you do have resources available and you make the commitment to hire someone, like yourself, that can help them with that plan and strategy, I think that's a great thing. So when you do speak to businesses and you hear from them, what's one of the biggest problems or the most common things that you hear that marine businesses are struggling with right now?
Like 12 months ago, there's so much going on. We're too busy to even get help. We're just so busy. That was definitely at 12 to 18 months ago. Everyone was busy. There's lots going on. And now we're seeing, I kind of call it like we're in the hangover of COVID. So we're no longer in these crazy like demand times. Everything's starting to settle down again. And so now it's dealing with the hangover. And when we talk to especially new clients or people that we're potentially just, may engage with, a lot of them, they've gone, okay, the tap's kind of turned off right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. They're not sure what to do. And so a lot of them are just looking for guidance and confidence, I think, and someone to go, have you been through this before? And while everyone else is tightening up and pulling it all in, that's when the companies that, if you've got the funds and the resources to do it, that's when you go harder, because you can get a lot more for a lot cheaper because no one else is doing it. You're not competing in that sense. But also, if you invest in your innovation and technology and that sort of thing, then when you come out of it, you're ahead of everyone else. But definitely what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of people that just aren't sure. They're looking to tighten up potentially, or they're using this opportunity to grow. And so they've gone, cool, we've calmed down. I have some breathing space. I'm still trying to make sure everything's right, but I want to make sure that we get through this and, that we've got this, we can keep growing and how we can do that. And so that tends to be what we're seeing with a lot of businesses. And yeah, their major problem, I think now, is just going, okay, it's that crazy demand isn't here anymore. Everything's slowing down. So what can I do now to, one, make sure I get through this and when it's uncertain, but 2, how can I come out better and ahead of everyone else? And that's exciting. There's definitely no one that we've talked to that's going, the world's ending and it's like, this is it, I'm going to throw the towel in. I think everyone's got this, like, they want to get through it and they're looking at their options of how, and that's where you say, okay, well, this is where marketing definitely comes in, because you can do a lot of that without having to, spend money on traveling and, doing all those things and hoping that it eventuates into something, versus you can spend a little bit of money on some little marketing campaigns here and there. And as I say, like, it's a lot cheaper, because I don't know if anyone else is getting it, but you're getting hassled by, media publications saying advertising and, so you can kind of negotiate a little bit more, which is really nice.
A couple of things you said I think were really interesting, and one of them being the doubling down at times like this. And I think if you can, that's fantastic if you've got the cash reserves and stuff. And after interviewing a lot of people, the common denominator there, I think, is risk and your tolerance of that. And I think it especially comes out in times like this. If people, I guess, aren't as risk tolerant in a time like this, and I know that everyone's business is different and there's different ways that you can market and try to get ahead in a time like this, what are some of those pieces of advice that you're giving, say, if we were speaking to like a boat brokerage, so a smaller boat brokerage, and they were looking at putting some effort into marketing now, they do see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's a general thing, but what's something actionable that you let people know or that you help them with that you could share with us?
Absolutely. So the first thing I would do that shouldn't cost you any money is double down on your partners. Whoever your partnerships are. So if you're a boat broker, if you've got an alliance with any brands or any other parties, like double down on that. Like that, spend all your time nurturing those relationships, making people feel like we're in it together. Like we know we're not stupid. We all know this is happening. How can we collectively work together to get more, and that is a big one, and it doesn't cost money a lot of the times. It's just, how could we collaborate? What could we do? Maybe, we could do some YouTube videos together or some social posts, like sharing some tips and tricks, go down the thought leadership route, to try, and there are still people out there spending money. So it's, how do we get them to spend their money with us rather than someone else? And so number one, I would look for partners. I'd look for other partners that are on that, like, we're the same. We want to get through this. Who can we work together with that, they've got synergies, and how we can kind of market to each other's audiences. There's benefits here, like, making sure it's mutually beneficial. But that's definitely one of the ways you can do. The other thing you can do is, it costs more money, but it is definitely just that activity and just getting yourself out there, promoting yourself, whether you're going to buy some merchandise and go on the road and, go hand out some stuff, or, do those sorts of things, little freebies. People love free stuff. Like, honestly, as long as it's good free stuff. That's one of my things I always tell my clients. I'm like, I don't want you going and getting cheap, nasty hats from China that no one's going to wear and you're putting your brand on it, because then your hat's just going to sit in the corner and never been touched. I'm like, spend the money, buy the $20 cap, only buy 10 of them, don't care. But, you put them on the right heads and people wear them.
Yeah.
That's cheap advertising, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah. But spend the money, get the quality, and give them to the people that matter.
That's exactly it. And so and I think it's just, the other thing I'd tell them is just be more focused, but also with intent. So be way more intentional with what you're going to do. So if you're going to do something, just pick that one thing and go all in with it. Like, own it. Like, that is your thing that you're doing, because people will see it. You'll get so much more, rather than doing lots of little things here and there. Just like finding that one thing that you're going to do, and you're like, this is what we're going to do right now. And it might not work, monitor it. You'll be like, oh, that wasn't the best one. You might need to pivot, but you'll get that feedback pretty quick. Like, people will say, they're like, Matt, you're like, what? No, that's no. But otherwise, they kind of get that sort of thing. So that would be kind of my feedback now for people that want to do those sorts of things. And then also being aware of who your competitors are, and knowing that they will be in the same, position that you're in. And if they're really cutting back, and that's when you're listening, keeping an eye out. If they're cutting back, that's when you go in even further. Even if, you could say the market's down 20%, but there's still 80% left of that market out there. And so stop stressing about the market being down, focus on the ones that are still spending money and how you can make sure they pick you over someone else. And a lot of the times it's just maximizing value. And I go back to those partnerships and those sorts of things, is collectively you can do a lot more. What my partner Chris always says, he's like, during recessions and times like this where there's a lot of economic uncertainty and the economy's down, this is when you see the really great companies come together. And they form these partnerships. And then on the other side, both of them have come out fantastic. And everyone else is like, oh no, what about us? And so, it's kind of one of those little things.
It's great insight to looking outside of what's normal, what you'd think, oh, we just got to make more of the same that we've been doing. I think it's also probably really valuable to look into the passion and the why part of the business now, because maybe you rediscover something that you didn't think was that important before, but now maybe you have the time to do it, although it doesn't seem like that's what you should be doing. I think the direct sale kind of stuff doesn't always work at times like this. It's more about, well, how maybe focus on how to build the brand and the partnerships, like you're saying. I think that's a great place to start.
It's really hard. And it's times like these, people really do need to have a good look at the business. And you'll start to see, when everything's busy and there's a lot going on, a lot of the underlying issues can get masked by just the busyness, and you've still got the income and everything coming in. And when it gets really quiet, it is a great opportunity to really look and kind of reevaluate different areas of your business. And you go, well, actually, it could be a product. You're like, that product we actually don't sell any of that. Like, and it's costing us this much to make. And you kind of go, well, maybe we just shouldn't be doing that, or we'll park it, and being brave to be able to say, no, we're not going to do that anymore. I think that's probably one of the hardest things, especially for business owners or leaders in a company, is to say, we're not going to do that anymore. Sorry, no. And it's not until the financial pressures really start setting in where you're like, I need to pay salaries, I need to do this, I need to do that. I mean, that's what keeps me up at night as a business owner, is like always I'm like, how do I make sure that my team's salaries get paid? I've always been like that, even in any of my leadership roles. I'm like, how do I make sure that my team is good? Because I know if they're doing everything they need, then I can, focus on the parts that I need to do to make it happen. And so it's really like looking at your business and going, what are the things that are going to make money? What are the things that are costing us money? And are there things that are kind of sitting there in the middle that could be elevated and we could open up, a new market? Looking to diversify into a new market is a fantastic idea. This is what we told our clients last year when they were saying, we know something's going to happen, we don't know what. And we were like, okay, well, you've got two options. One is diversify with product, or two is diversify with a different market. So we're either entering a new market or you've got a new product that you're launching. It's not that hard, and you look at it, and if you can set up a new market geographically, especially, around the world, that takes so much pressure off, because if one market's down, you've got this one going, and they always kind of slide and chop and change, and there's seasonality and things like that. But from a business standpoint, that is what will help you safeguard. And so you might go, okay, cool. Right now, New Zealand and Australia are really quiet. The US is quiet, but it's still going along. And so how could we potentially enter the US market? Or is there an opportunity in Asia or the Middle East or Europe? Like, is there some low-hanging fruit that we could go in? And again, my recommendation is not go, we're taking on America. Do not do that unless you have a lot of money. It's just, no, it's like, okay, we're going to focus on Seattle in California because the conditions are like this, or it's going to be Fort Lauderdale in Florida. Again, very targeted, and go all into that one little tiny piece of the market and then let it grow that way, because otherwise it's painful, it's time consuming, it's like a money pit. It's not fun. Like, no one's having a good time, everyone's stressed.
And I think that's also, why we got into the business, right? And you mentioned that before, is recreational boating and this marine industry. Like, a lot of people share that passion, but it's also important to inject a bit of fun into what we do, because that's what people connect with in this industry. Something that's really important too is finding the balance between running the business and being serious, and then injecting a bit of fun into the marketing, like you were saying before too, because people make decisions based on their emotions and how you make them feel. Some of the maybe marine businesses that you work with, or just in general, how do you see people that are maybe missing the mark on that balance right now?
The ones you can see is like where they take themselves too seriously. And so and it's almost like they alienate themselves, and they're like, we're over here and we're this. And then what happens is people go, well, I don't enjoy, like, my interactions with you haven't been great. I don't want to work with you. And it travels, like, that word travels, especially in our industry. If someone's looking to make a big purchase, they're going to ask around. And they're going to talk to their friends and go, have you ever used this product or this service? And like, are they good people? Are they, this and that? And if people don't say much, then they go, okay.
Yeah, reputation precedes you for sure.
Absolutely. And so if you make it really hard for people to do business with you as well, and so it's like looking not only at the customer journey, but also any kind of key stakeholder journey and the way they interact with your business. It's like, I've seen it so many times where I just want to buy your product. I just want to buy this. Like, let me buy it. And they make you jump through so many hoops. And you're like, can I just pick up the phone and talk to someone then? And you pick up the phone and then they're painful. And you're just like, what? And then the worst is, like, you might talk to someone in the business or who knows them, and they're like, oh yeah, we know, we're hard to do business with. And it's just like, you guys know it too. And they're like, yeah, but it's just so broken, we don't know how to fix it. So we're just
keep doing what doesn't
Enduring.
work.
Yeah, I think that's like, one of those things. And they tend to be businesses that just get so big. I find it's either businesses that are just, they've gotten so big and they've grown and they don't know how to be a big company anymore. And they don't have, processes or things in place. And everything's like on fire and it's constantly like you're putting fires out. And so you've got that. And then you've got other companies maybe that don't want to invest in more resources, and so they're so busy and they've got so much on and so much opportunity, and they've got people knocking on their door being like, we'd love to do this with you and we'd love to do that with you, but they're like, it's just, it might be one or two people, like they're a very small team and they're not wanting to put anyone else on, or they have and they've been burnt, and so they're like, no. And so those are kind of like, I find those two are the ones that like, yeah, it's quite interesting. And again, every single business is different. Like they're so different, and you get it. And even, these people in there, they're just like, we know it's hard, it's difficult, and it needs to be easier, but we don't know how to make it easier.
I heard the other day, I think it was Steve Jobs said it in one of his meetings. It's like, what did you say no to this week? And looking for the juicy things. So having that focus and that commitment, if it is the product that you're selling or the opportunity that you want to say no to because it doesn't line up with exactly where you want to go or what you want to be known for, that helps a lot in the customer service side of things, but also the marketing, right? In being able to understand what it is that you want to promote because you're just laser focused on doing the best job that you can at that one thing and not getting distracted by all the other shiny things. We did talk about like being able to expand in a time like this, but I think having that focus, I think rewards at the end of that are outsized as compared to trying to do all the things and put little effort into many buckets.
Completely agree. It can be hard. It's really hard to say no to things, especially when you do get times when, like in your business, where you're like, we need to make more money, we need to do this, we've got to pay the bills, and so you get so tempted to want to try everything, and you have to be very like strict in terms of like, no, this is what we're doing. And this kind of goes back to what we're saying around, this is why you have your strategic plan. You have your strategic pillars of, no, this is what we're doing. This is absolutely what we're doing. We put that in place at Prop Speed as we grew, because when you're a little team, you know what's going on and you're all aligned. But as you grow, it defrags and gets murkier, and then suddenly one person is like, well, we're going this way, and everyone's like, well, no, we're going that way, and you didn't even realize that you had that issue till someone kind of puts a spotlight on and goes, well, when you get up in the morning, are you turning left or are you turning right? And then someone's like, I go the way, whichever kind of, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good today. And the other is like, no, we're going right. And then you've got the other people go, no, we're left. And it's just, it's chaos. And you can see that's, and if you can capture, like stop that before it becomes way too problematic, that's a great thing. And then it's just getting crystal clear on, okay, we need to be here. We need to hit this target. How do we get there? These are the core things that we're going to focus on. Like if we have these things in place, we will get there. And it's not one or the other, it's all of them, because, there's never a silver bullet. You have to factor in, especially in businesses, you have to factor in, can my operations handle it? If we get this growth, what are we doing to make sure we've got quality control or all those sorts of things in place? And, what is marketing doing? What is sales doing? And just making sure everyone is completely aligned. And that was what really helped us transform the company, of getting that absolute clarity. So no matter what anyone in the business, no matter where they were in the world, they knew exactly what the business was doing and then what role they played in achieving that. And it was it's I think so many people have like, oh, we had to do a strategic plan and we got this, but then they just file it away and then they never look at it again. And if someone asks, they're like, oh, here it is. Here it is. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what we're doing. And so the other thing is actually holding yourself accountable to it and putting kind of structures in place to make sure. And it's simple. Like when we did that, I printed out and laminated the strategic plan on a page and put it on everyone's desk. I was like, right in front of you, we've got it here. We had it everywhere visually, so everyone knew. And then also when we set up, like incentivizing staff and bonuses and things like that, they were aligned with the KPIs for the strategic pillars. And so people knew if they were doing this, then, there was actually a reward for it, not just like a pat on the back saying, yay, well done. We did it.
It gets people more invested in the success of the company that way anyway, if they're motivated by money, right? Some people are motivated by different things, but making it easy to follow is something great. I know I work a lot with Short Marine, and they have their mission, vision, values, why they're in business. It's huge decals on the wall, and it's a great reminder for everyone to see every day. It's great to laminate it and have on someone's desk, so it's always top of mind, but also something great for customers to see when they walk in the building. Like, it's transparent, says this is what we're all about. This is who we are, what we expect from everyone that works here and what we want to give to our clients. I think it's a very powerful thing to have alignment over something like that, and to put a lot of emphasis on making sure that everyone follows that and is top of mind every day.
And then, if you do it right, you get people go, that makes so much sense. Like, that is them to a T. It's not some, Chris would say, corporate BS. It's like, oh, look, we ticked a box into this on the wall. It's like, no, they live and breathe it. And it makes everything so much easier in the long run. And it filters through your marketing. It filters through all sorts of different things when you've got everyone living by that kind of ethos.
And I think it adds to the story of your company too. I think story is a big thing of what I do, as you know, and a lot of what you do as well. So I'm curious, how have you seen the use of storytelling in content or different ways build a successful marine brand? In particular, I think the connection that people have grown between the brand and their customers.
We watched the Simon Sinek Start With Why and the storytelling, and I got really into that a couple of years ago, and I was really curious to understand it, because there's always, if you understand the art of storytelling, there's always a formula for those that use it properly, and you can tend to pick it out. There's a hero, there's a villain, and there's like a special weapon or something that the hero uses to overcome everything, and very standard and straightforward. And the ones that I have seen that get it right, they make their customer the hero. And the ones that get it wrong, they make themselves the hero. So they're like, me, I'm the hero, look at me. And what they don't realize is it's not hitting the way it should. And it's still, again, you're not reading a book, and it comes through different other avenues like video. But if you look at it and you think about how that made you feel afterwards, you're like, oh, wow, like this is like a, wow, impressive company. Do I want to buy any of their stuff? I don't really care for it, maybe, like, because I know a bit about them. But the ones that make the customer the hero, I'm like, I don't even need this product, but I want it. Like, I want that so badly right now. And that's the difference in having proper like storytelling and putting thought into it and understanding like what ultimately do we want to get out of it. And there's different businesses, but ultimately it's sale. You want to convert someone. And so it's making sure when they put the customer as the hero, their product is the special weapon that they use to overcome the challenges. And then you, as the person communicating, or the company, you should be the wise old man that says, go this way, like the fairy godmother.
Obi-Wan. Yes.
And they're the examples where I've seen it. And you can tell you've had that happen to you, because if you ever watch, I'm one of those weirdos that loves watching ads now, especially good ones. And like, if you've got that warm, fuzzy feeling afterwards, and you like have the sense of urgency of like, I need to buy this either for myself or for someone I know, that's when storytelling has absolutely it's done its job on you.
And it's memorable.
Absolutely. Yeah. You tell people about it. That's when you're like, my work here is done.
People remember how you make them feel. Absolutely. And story is the best way to connect emotionally to somebody and, change their day and make them remember you for the things that you want to be remembered for. I think one of the biggest shifts for people is to understand that they aren't the hero of the story. They are the guide. And that hero's journey framework that you were talking about is super easy to follow. And it can be in so many parts of your marketing. It's not just the one story for the company. You can tell every story that you want to. You sell everything, the service, the product, why you should come here, because you're focusing on the customer, like we were talking about in the beginning of the conversation, and their problem and what it is that they're looking for. It is a product or service, but that's only part of it. They're looking to feel a different way.
And I mean, for all of our clients, I know this resonates, and it's probably a lot of people in the marine, like companies in the marine industry, but a lot of the times your product isn't something that people just go out and buy. A lot of the times there's a lot of thought that gets put into the purchase decision-making process. They've got to do their research. They have to find if it's a part for their boat, they have to know, is it going to fit for my boat? Like that sort of stuff. And most do a pretty good job of going like, yep, this product's perfect for this, this, and this. But what it really comes down to is how do you make yourself memorable so that when the time comes, when they go, oh, I need a new engine for my boat, something's just happened, and like, oh, who do I want to think of? They're going to think of the brand that resonates the most to them. And so if you can make that impact, in lots of tiny ways, till that moment where they suddenly have like the sense of urgency or the need becomes like, I can't use the boat anymore. The engine's like buggered. So
yeah, it's time.
It's time. And so it's like, this is why we do the marketing. And this is what I say to my clients is we need to have consistent communication. So we're always, we're active. We're helping people understand like, we're still here. We're still here. And you build up that fan base. And it's good to have that fan base. And while they may not be buying today, the time may come, and it may be in 12 months, it may be in a couple months, it might be in a year or 3 years. We have one of our clients who said, he messaged us saying, finally is my time. He's like, I've been following your social pages for 5 years. I love your product. I'm always liking everything. And he goes, I finally have the opportunity to buy a new boat and I can buy like this. And he was just so excited. And we're like, this is why you do what you do. Like, this is why we do it, because there are absolutely potential customers sitting there and it's just now is not the time. But if you can use your marketing and your messaging to help build that loyalty even before they're a customer, then when that moment comes, they don't even like consider anyone else. They're like, I don't care how much it costs. I want one of these because I've had my heart set on it. And that's fantastic when you can do that sort of thing.
Decisions already made. Like, it's wonderful to be able to have so many touch points to be able to tell your story over that time. So when the time comes, it's not a sell. It's not a sale at all. It's just helping someone get what they already want. But I think that relates a lot to brand and people's perception of brand. And while brand is a huge topic that we could dive into, just touching on, if you were to summarize it in 2 sentences or a sentence, what is brand? I have an idea, but I'm curious from your side what it is.
To me, brand is, in essence, who you are. Because like it could be a company, you've got your personal brand. But to me, a brand is kind of like who you are as a whole. Like, that to me is what a brand is.
My perception of it is also how you make people feel when they see or experience what it is that you do.
Completely agree. I was going to kind of go to, you said it a lot better than me. I was trying to find the words, but it was like, it's who you are and it's how people
perceive you.
Yeah, it's more about that perception, and it's like, that's all part of it. And because if you think of brands in a sense of, I think luxury brands are a really easy one to pick because, you'll take Louis Vuitton. They've done a very good job of protecting their brand as an example, and they're the only sellers of their products to maintain that control of their brand. And the way their brand is if you look at the product itself, the cost, they're still high quality products and they're good, but the majority of what you are paying is not for the cost of the product. It is purely to be able to have that brand. And when you look at that, it's like, well, then why do people spend that money? For some, it's status, it's ego, it makes you feel good. So there's the emotional part to it of like, oh, like I've done this, I've worked really hard, like, I can enjoy this thing. What it really does also come back to is that community. And humans, we focus on community as a species. And so people are always looking for a sense of belonging and to find where they belong. And really good brands provide people that. They provide them a sense of belonging. It's like a connection of like, I associate myself with your brand because I feel aligned with that, like who you are in terms of your brand, whether you're a company or a product or a person, and that how other people perceive your brand and how aligned they are with your brand as well, I think is where that kind of all sits. And you can look at so many things in life, and it's what you want to be associated with. And ultimately, you want to be associated with things that make you feel good, because again, that's human nature. And so you're looking for those things that are completely aligned, and everyone has different tastes and different interests. And so that's why different brands resonate more with each other. But it's definitely like, it's so deep, and it's not just, oh, it looks good and we use these colors and there's
I mean, the way you described it, it's obvious that it has a huge impact on the growth of your business and how people perceive you and what you do. So if someone in the marine industry was maybe in their first couple of years, what's a couple things they could focus on to really start building their brand?
Perfect. So number one, which is what we tell people, is don't wrap the brand around yourself. You see it all the time where it's, their last name Inc. or Pty Limited or something like that. We're not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it makes it really hard. If you want to be active in that business and you want to wrap it around, you go for it. Like, do it. And if you've got a great last name, also like do it. But if you don't want to be like everything of that company, then don't, and think about that. Like, it's, I think, kind of stepping back is like, ultimately, what does success look like when you're doing this and you're starting out? What is the goal? Are you wanting to build a legacy business for your family? Then absolutely put your name on it, wave that flag, instill those family values into the brand. If you're looking for something that you either want to grow and maybe sell or have an employee buyout or something like that, if you're eventually looking for a liquidity event or an exit, then you need to have that in mind when you're initially building that brand. And we had one of our good friends, Luke McCall, he's Zeal Marinas. We had a chat to him, and he was going to use his initials. And we're like, no, don't. We're like, unless you want it to just be you, if you're going to do this, we highly recommend picking a name that isn't anything to do with you, but still fits with what you want. And that's where Zeal Marinas came out of. And he was like, that was honestly the best decision we made. Thank you for that advice, because I don't want to be everything wrapped around me. And you can look, a great example is like a lot of solicitors and lawyers, when they start their own practice, they put their name on it because that's what you do. And then when it comes to retire, they're like, I kind of want to sell this, but my name's on the door. How do I get as much value out of this when I'm not part of it? Those are all things to consider, and it can be quite hard when you're at the start of your journey. So always go into it of like, what's the end game? Once you've got that, that'll definitely help. And then the second thing is, when you're building your brand, is to think about your values and what type of business you want it to be, because that will have an impact on the brand look, feel, tone of voice, who you are, how you present yourself, what the narrative is. It's really important to have that clarity, especially when you're starting out, because it's a lot easier to set it there and to take that time to have it, kind of spend that time there now. Because if you do something and then a few years down the track, you go, oh, that's really not who we are or where I want to go. And, we get things happen. And the other thing, if you're starting out, I always say, do a quick trademark search. Like, just make sure that you can use that brand. Because there are so many examples out there. I think in Australia, Hungry Jack's is a perfect example of Burger King, wanting to enter the Australian market, and they couldn't because the name was taken. And again, there's lots more examples of that. But whatever brand you pick, make sure it's available.
I think that's great advice. And I think I'll add one, because I'm on this journey now with Rising Tide just being pretty new, but have built a good reputation, I think, so far. And that's, I think, due to putting your flag in the sand and saying, I want to be known for this. Like, realizing or understanding what it is that, number one, is going to make you happy, and number two, that people pay money for to keep you in business and people value, and solving that problem, and then saying, okay, well, within that problem, this is where I want to be. Do I want to be like cheap and do this for 1 million people and like make it more of a commodity, I guess? Or do I want to be at the premium side of things? And then what are my actions to do once I have that flag in the sand? Like, what do I need to do to get there? And it's nice to have that North Star, I think.
Having that clarity of who you are and who you want to be seen as, where do you sit in the marketplace? Absolutely, for your brand. Because if you if you establish yourself as like, I'm going to like make it super premium, and then your product isn't premium, then, you've got that kind of like, everyone's kind of confused by it. And so it's just like, this is who I am, like, and being very structured with it. And then, hopefully commercializing it, which is the other big thing of, okay, it's also a business. We need to make money.
And I guess maybe one tip for a business that's been in the game for a while that has just realized, hey, brand's probably something we should look more into.
The first thing I would say to existing companies is get clarity on what is your most valuable brand. So, you might have a product brand that has a lot more brand equity than, say, your company brand, because the product is what's been out in the marketplace. And so that's what people resonate with. And a great way to test that one is when you walk in a room, do they go, hey, you're the product guy, or hey, you're the company name guy? It's a really quick, easy way to go, oh, okay, everyone knows that brand unless this one. And so identifying what brand holds the most equity is where I would say number one. And then number two is, again, going back to what is the end game? Like, what does success look like? Where do you want to be? Because that would dictate how you should structure your brand and how everything else should interact. I can absolutely use the example of PropSpeed. We were formerly known as Ocean Max. It was a company that's been around. Ocean Max was the company. PropSpeed was the product. We had a vision to be, a coatings company or to provide a variety of solutions, and we were going down that path. But when you're going down that path, you also need to be aware of the amount of resource that you need to invest in to grow, this other brand. Like, growing two brands, it's double the investment, or you could put everything into that one brand and grow it much faster and exponentially. We decided to pivot, and we did that test of everyone. When you walk in the room, it's PropSpeed, and you're like, oh no, I'm from Ocean Max, and everyone's like, who's that? I don't understand. And you're like, and that actually just helped all of us as well, because you were no longer being like trying to explain it, and people were just like, PropSpeed's the best. And so it's understanding what brand the market loves more, like, that's ultimately it. And then if you wanted to build a legacy business, that's where you could absolutely start transferring some across to the other brand to build it up. Or if you're like, actually, we want to see where this brand goes, is just pulling all into that. And then what's your time frame? And if you're wanting a quick one, then the recommendation is you put everything into that, that core brand and grow it more. Or if you've got a different, you're like, actually, this brand can't keep going. How can we transfer equity across, and how can we bring this one up? And so there's a lot of different things there, but definitely just getting a strong understanding of how the market perceives you, where the most equity is in the brands that you do have, and how you can either leverage them onto other brands or dial it up and turn other ones down.
That's fantastic. Such great advice. I hope that helps many people, because it is so important. That's the thing that's going to bring the most return, not right away, but definitely over time, is focusing on brand. Last little section, Nona, some rapid fire questions for you.
All right.
Favorite place to go boating?
I have to say Waiheke Island in New Zealand. It is so beautiful.
Sounds fantastic. Favorite boat snack?
This is weird. Pickles.
I love a pickle. Big fan. Best piece of boating advice you've ever received?
Watch where your hands and feet are, and don't stand on ropes.
True. Top 3 must-haves for a day out on the water?
Sunblock. High SPF, 50 plus sunblock. 2, a hat. Again, I'm like really strict on on sun protection. A hat. I think a hat's just always, they're always a good idea. And then alcohol, booze. It's got to be a good time.
Yep, the elixir. What's one thing you wish more people knew about boating?
Just how inviting it can be as a community. You would be surprised if you wanted to get into boating and you wanted to get into sailing. You could just literally walk the docks in a marina and be like, hey, can I come out one day? And they're like, yes, come on board. Like, people are they're so lovely. So absolutely, it's just like how, friendly people are, and just put yourself out there, and they're always looking for crew, especially yachties.
If you could create one new rule for boating, what would it be?
Boats should have like a warrant of fitness or some kind of annual maintenance check, just for boat safety.
Super important. What's the most common request you get from clients?
How do I go viral?
That black magic stuff.
Yeah, the black magic stuff. And then the second one was, can you make me look good? As long as you can make me look good, I don't care. I'm like, we can make you look good.
What is a benefit of the industry that people don't know about?
The networking connections you can make. People forget that people that are into boats, they usually are very successful, powerful people, and they know other people. And so that network, like take the time, work the room, meet the people. It's worth it.
Great advice. What's your one day after boat show must go to routine?
Oh, sleep, sleeping, massage,
Mm-hmm.
everything on do not disturb. And you just tell everyone, don't talk to me for 24 hours so I can collapse and not talk to people.
Just sit in silence
Yeah,
and
just
reflect on life. Yeah. Speaking of boat shows, they are notorious for attendees asking some, let's say, very interesting questions. What's a question that stands out to you that's kind of raised the eyebrows?
Oh, of course, it's from Florida, Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. And it was prop speed. And this man comes up to me and goes, so what else can I paint? This, like, what else can I paint with this? And I'm like, just the metal parts underneath the boat, just those. He goes, what if I like painted someone's body? And I'm like, no, don't do that. It's a chemical. Like, don't. They're like, oh, okay. Well, what if I painted a wetsuit? And I was like, why? And he was just like, I feel like this would be really cool and slippery, and I'd get some really, like, he was clearly into diving and being underwater, and he was trying to figure out how he could. I was just like, no, don't try paint yourself in marine paint. It's not good.
And don't come back to us when you do. This is your disclaimer.
Just don't. Just don't. You were not
sign
a customer.
Here. Yeah.
Clearly.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And last one, what's something, a fact most people don't know about you besides your ability to keep a cactus alive?
I mean, I tell people, but it usually comes out left field. I spent 7 years playing the flute.
That's fantastic.
Yep. And that was purely so that my parents would let me learn how to play the guitar.
I never thought the flute would be a gateway instrument, but I'm glad that you got. Did you succeed at that? I did,
and as soon as I got my guitar, that flute was like, bye.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nona, that was fantastic. How would you like to leave us today?
My favorite words of wisdom. It's a little bit cheeky, but it's something that I like to live by. Don't be a can't.
I like it. With the accent, people are going to be real confused. Yeah,
yeah.
But
so I like it even more.
That's fair. The things you can get away with in New Zealand. I like it.
For me, it's like, it's all about attitude, right? And it's like, if you have that mindset and that attitude to get shit done, then you will. And if you are a can't person, we can't do this, we can't do that, then, you're not really going to get anywhere, and it's not a growth mindset.
Yeah, I love it.
Don't be a can't.
Yes. Say yes to the things, all the things.
Exactly.
That was awesome. Huge thank you to Nona today for making it happen. And you can find Nona online on all the platforms at yessss.to.growth. So yes to growth. And we are at Rising Tide Film on all the platforms. Please subscribe where you heard or saw this, and let me know what you enjoyed about the conversation so I can know what you'd love to hear on the next one, and leave a comment. Thanks again, Nona, and we'll catch you on the next one.